listeners. Welcome to I Got Nothing, a podcast for exhausted writers. I am your host, Leani Lopez, and welcome to episode 11. To new listeners, welcome. To returning ones, hey, welcome back. Thanks for listening again. I love doing these podcasts, and I love seeing that people want to listen to what I have to say. So, jumping in, this topic is one that I wanted to talk about for a while now because it's one that I have to remind myself of when I'm writing or trying to write. As all writers know, there are times when you get stuck. Writer's block is very real. It happens to the best of us. And I already have an episode where I went over tips and tricks on how to get through writer's block. But there's one thing in particular that I wanted to talk about because I don't think it pertains to only writer's block. I think it's very important to your writing as a whole and in general. And that is, it is very important when you are creating to broaden your horizons. Now that can mean a number of things, but in particular, what I'm referring to is to try new media, new genres, and new types of stories. Basically, consume media out of your comfort zone. There have been many times over the years, particularly when I'm dealing with anxiety and depression, but there have been times where I've felt stuck and stagnant with my writing, not liking what I was doing, not really having any fun, and just overall not enjoying the experience, which sucks because I'm a writer and I actually really like writing. So if I'm not enjoying the experience, then I'm doing something wrong. So I started taking stock of what was going on in my life during those times and pushing aside any mental health issues which are going to come up. I realized part of the issue was I was consuming the same media over and over and over again. And by that I mean watching the same TV show I've seen 1,000 times or watching the same movies. I had a period of time where it's very difficult for me to consume any kind of new media. Part of that was my mental capacity was not in a good state, so to me, consuming anything new or changing my routine was very difficult. But as I started to work through that, and I started getting help for my anxiety and working through my depression and things of that nature, I started making a conscious effort to expose myself to new media. Whether it was a TV show I've been putting off for no good reason, a movie that I've been meaning to see for months, or even a book that I had on my shelf that I bought because it looked interesting, but, didn't crack open the book. As all of us book lovers can attest. And so, once I started to do that, once I started to make the conscious effort to try new things, I felt really good about it because it was something new that was happening in my life that didn't take a lot of effort, which for those who have dealt with depression and anxiety, you know how difficult it is to pull yourself out of that rut or out of that spiral. So watching a new movie or a new TV show in a genre I don't usually consume made a huge difference because it was something new. It was exciting. It got my mind thinking in ways I hadn't been thinking in a while. And it got my wheels turning. Sometimes it was great and I ended up getting ideas for my own type of story in that genre. Other times, it was, well, I'm never watching that again. And that was okay too. It just gave me something new to look forward to and made me want to try something different in other aspects of my life. So if I watched a new TV show, I was like, well, let me consume new media on that. Which for me meant going to Tumblr and looking up everything I possibly could about it. And I cannot tell you how many times I have jumped into a new fandom or show or movie, written an insane fanfic or a number of fanfics, and then just bounced and went to something else. And even though, I wasn't working at the time on my original stuff, it still kept my muse going, and it still helped me flex those creative muscles, sort of like an exercise. And sometimes I even turned some of those fan fictions into their own stories. Slip of the Hand originally started off as an alternate universe fanfic. It literally has nothing to do with the fandom it was a part of. The only thing it had to do with was the names. And Lost in the Dark was very similar. And they turned into these stories on their own that didn't have to do necessarily with the media I consumed, but had to do with the feelings that that media provoked. And also helped me make some incredible friends. Shout out to my Tumblr friends. I miss you guys so much, and I haven't written fanfics in months, and I'm so sorry. But it definitely became a writing exercise for me, and like I said, got those muscles going and kept me writing when I probably wouldn't have written at all. Personally, to me, no writing is a waste. No writing that you do is wasteful, even if you don't use it. Even if it's something that turns into something else or you just put away and never look at again. It still is writing, and it's still a feeling that you had that you were able to capture on paper. And as writers, isn't that what we want to do? Don't we want to capture feelings and thoughts and bring these emotions out in our readers and in ourselves? And whether you use your own writing or fan fiction to do that, it's writing. You're still writing. And if you watch a movie and suddenly are inspired to write for that genre that you've never written before, that's fantastic. I think we as writers, a lot of us tend to fall into the, I don't want to say trap, because it's not a trap. But we fall into a steady rhythm, and we know what we like, and we like those genres, and we know what those genres entail, and we want to write those genres more, and that's totally cool. But it's also fun to kind of branch out and write something else, because A, you don't know if you're going to like it until you try it. B, if you don't like it, you at least tried something. And C, it just makes you appreciate your own tastes more. At least for me, it does. You also never know what is going to inspire you. If you consume the same type of media, and I mean, when I say same type, I mean literally reading the same book over and over again, watching the same movie, watching the same TV show, you're not getting any new ideas. You're just seeing something you've seen again and again. So by broadening your horizons, reaching out and consuming something else, you're bringing a new type of inspiration in that you may not have gotten otherwise. I think there's a saying that has some weight to it to an extent, and that's write what you know. And on some level, yes. But I actually think sticking to that statement can be really dangerous. Because if you don't branch out and write something you don't know, how are you going to learn? Learning, for me, is the most important thing when coming to writing and what I do. Yes, it's about enjoying it, but I don't personally think any writing is a waste of time if I learned something from it. If I've learned from a piece of writing that I've done, then that's successful, whether or not somebody has read it or bought it or whatever. At least to me. And writing what you know to an extent is good, but then you're not opening yourself to new perspectives and new voices. And I think as writers, on some level, we have a responsibility to put as many voices out there as we can. And at least for me, it's important for me personally to give voice to those who are voiceless. And if you just stick to writing what you know instead of learning, then you're going to limit your view and your abilities. And that's sad. Don't limit yourself. In writing, in life, don't put limits on yourself in terms of what you can learn and how you can grow. Broadening your horizons, consuming new ideas, new voices, new point of views can really help you build up your skills and your knowledge and help you write more. It really does. I know this is a little bit of a cliche, but most people say if you want to write, then you have to read. Yeah. I don't think I know of any writers who don't also seriously read at the same time. All of us have such long to-be-read lists. There's so many amazing authors on there. I mean, I've had my author Instagram for like not even 2 months, and my list is so long, and I want to read everything by everybody, and there's just not enough hours in the day. But reading and making sure that I read has been definitely helping me a lot in my writing. And all of this will also help you think outside the box. And I mean, when you're being creative, aren't we all thinking outside the box at that point? And the more you write, the more you try and consume and learn, the more comfortable you'll become in knowing your strengths, knowing your own weaknesses, and what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. There have been a lot of stories that I have written that I decided to branch out into darker themes, and it was very difficult. I did it. I wrote the whole story. But I also realized that I couldn't do that repeatedly. I couldn't stay in that headspace. So, as much as I learned from that experience, and yes, I had fun doing it, I also learned that I most likely could not write a lot of those themes moving forward because I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I had tried it and it just didn't work for me. And you never know what's going to work for you and what's not going to work. And as I usually preface in each episode, these are all my own opinions. Feel free to go your own way. But if you're looking for suggestions and you feel yourself a little stuck and a little unmotivated or uninspired, try popping in that show that you've been putting off. Try watching that movie that just showed up on Netflix. Try reading that book from that indie author that just published. You never know. You never know what's going to inspire you. So consume all you can. Keep your mind open, and you are going to do great, great, great things. I truly believe that. So this has been episode 11 of I Got Nothing, a podcast for exhausted writers. I am your exhausted writer, Leani Lopez. Per usual, if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, any questions, suggestions, I am always here. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, I have a website, leanilopez.com. You can contact me any which way, and I would be happy to chat. All right, until next time, lovelies. Bye.